Action Reaction Podcast. I'm Steve Zautke, and joining us today is Jacob Ruud, driver of BMW, who's going to be up at Road America this weekend in the TC America class. And Jacob, tell us a bit about that class running up at Road America this weekend.
Yeah, so TC America, I don't know size-wise compared to anybody else, is one of the biggest touring car racing series in the US at the pro level. So there are 3 different classes that compete in the TC America series. There's TCX, which I drive in. That's composed of mainly BMW M2s at this time, but I know that they're planning on adding other multi-car races, multi-car action to that class. There's the normal TC class, which is a little bit slower. That's composed of Honda Civic Type R, Hyundai Veloster N, etc. That speed type of cars that race against each other. And then there's TCA class, which is the slowest of the 3. That's, your Honda Civic Si, I think the Hyundai Veloster Turbo, so the slower version of that. Mini also runs in that class. But it's touring car racing, right? Lots of wheel-to-wheel action in very low horsepower cars compared to some of the other things that run up at Road America. So it makes for definitely some interesting racing and a very good spectator sport if people are thinking about coming up to watch.
You've had 6 races so far, including Virginia, I see, and you're 6 for 6. It's a pretty good run you got going. How's that happening? Is it a team? Is it driver? A combination?
Well, I don't want to, put it down to one thing, but it's that class is new for this year. The TCX class is, and so is the car. The BMW M2 CS Racing. This is the first year that they're running it in any sort of competition. Honestly, it was new last fall, even from BMW. So I think we as a team, me as a driver, just kind of got out ahead of, hey, we want to make an impact in this new class and kind of show what we're capable of, both me as a driver and my coach and the team from an engineering standpoint. And, so far, I think we've done that. We'll see how the rest of the season goes, but it's looking good so far, and I've been having a fantastic time doing it. So
the car itself it's a good looking car. Well, the M2 is a good looking car to begin with, but I mean, the car itself doesn't look that modified. It looks like it's stripped down from the photos I've seen, but tell us, how do you get your car ready for racing, the one that you're driving?
Well, so it's a factory prepared race car. So you get the car directly from BMW as, a purpose built race car. So they strip out the interior, they put in the lightweight seat, they put in the harness, they put in the cage, they put in the fire suppression, that's all done by BMW, and then they sell it to teams as a package and say, here, you can go racing. So it's a turnkey race car pretty much. So, as far as prepping for a race weekend, the only thing that we change from a driver or an engineering standpoint is setup. So we can adjust camber, caster, toe, etc. We can adjust spring rates, we can adjust ride height, we can adjust rear wing, we can adjust things of that nature to kind of help give us that little bit of competitive advantage. Because in spec racing, that's kind of where you get your edge, right? Is A, how good of a driver you are, and B, how can you set up the car for this particular track. So we've worked a lot on in testing on getting the car set up correctly for each individual track, and I'll actually be up at Road America testing.
Do you think that car is going to handle at Road America, especially with the long straightaways? Are you able to change the gearing, or is there a gear, because the front straightaway and then going into 5 is such a long, is the gearing changed for that at all? Like
No, we can't change the gearing, unfortunately. It's basically a street car drivetrain.
Okay.
As the M2 competition would come from BMW, they don't make any changes to that except for cooling, upgraded cooling. So there's no gearing that we can change. There's a couple things that maybe, we can take out camber or take out toe to kind of help our straight line speed, or maybe reduce rear wing. Obviously that would hurt me in the carousel and kind of those high speed corners, but again, it's a trade-off, right? We're going to do that testing, and we're going to find out kind of what translates to faster lap times on the track. And honestly, I can make a guess based on the experience that I have from racing there before, but again, this is a new platform for everybody, so we're kind of all going into this with the same limited amount of knowledge about how the car's going to handle there.
And that was my next question. What other cars or did you get your start in racing?
I guess, I got my start like anybody else did in go-karts. I did start kind of late. I think the first time I ever raced or even drove a go-kart was at like 13. So I kind of got my start there, raced electric and gas carts. I don't know if you know where Badger Kart Club is
Oh yeah,
out near Madison.
yep,
I've raced
awesome.
up there. Yep, Dousman. I've raced up there a decent amount, did some practicing there. We've got 100cc single speed cart that I'll take up there every once in a while too. And then moved up to club level racing at Road America. My dad ran Ferrari Challenge for 20 years, up till, he ran from like '03 to 2014. So I guess it's more like 10 years. But so I got my start in the club challenge level. They had some races at Road America that I participated in, did fairly well. We kind of decided together that, hey, I think we might be able to move to a pro series. So we kind of looked around MX5 Cup, SCCA, NASA, the different series that were out there, and decided, hey, we want to go racing with SRO TC. So I moved up into a BMW M240 IR, so like the lower
Hmm.
tier factory BMW race car. Did a few races in that. 2017, 2018, 2019 did pretty well. Took 2020 off because I'm a full-time student and couldn't find the time. And we had this very insignificant virus that was going around the country at that point too. So there wasn't much opportunity for me to go racing. And in the fall of 2020, I had gone to like a track day or something and heard that this new platform was coming out, and basically was like, okay, talk to my team, talk to everybody, and they said, okay, we think we can make an impact with this new class and this new car. And as you say, the rest is history, right? And it's been going pretty well so far. But that's kind of how I got my start. Karts to club to pro, but lower level, and now here we are. Right?
Is there any support from BMW on race weekends, engineering help or anything when you're there?
Yep. Yeah. So the team that runs my car now is it's actually a BMW dealership out of Dallas, Texas. It's called Classic BMW, and then they have a race team that they basically hire on to do the engineering support for the race weekend. But BMW also has technicians there. They're not from Germany, but they're hired by BMW corporate to come and support the cars on race weekend and make sure that they'll pull data after all of our sessions and make sure that cars are producing the power numbers that they're supposed to be, and that we're running correctly, and that nobody's cheating, and B, nobody's running at a disadvantage, right? So, and if you have an issue with your car too, like some of these teams, I mean, you get all the information from BMW as to how to run the car, but it's not all self-explanatory. And
Hmm.
you know how the Germans are with their engineering, right? So they'll have support on site for anybody who needs help with it. But
And if you have, let's say you have an incident, now obviously not totally not the car, but you bend up a fender or something, they can fix it that weekend. Then if let's say on Friday you have an issue or something.
yeah, well, it depends on the incident. I mean, the team that I run with is actually also the BMW parts supplier
That
for
helps.
my series. Um, so they have miscellaneous parts available. They
Hmm.
bring like a second trailer and act as the BMW support for the entire weekend. So if you break like a suspension component or need like a shock, they would probably have something like that. But at some point the damage becomes unrepairable in a time frame that makes sense to run the rest of the weekend. So you either have to rent a car from somebody else who has a spare, which I think my team also brings spare cars for the weekend for that specific purpose. Or you basically say, I'm gonna kind of bow out of this weekend and take the points hit. So I've seen people do both, and I don't know which is better. And again, it's a very situation dependent scenario, right? But there are parts available during the weekend if people need them.
Obviously, you've raced at Road America before. What's your thoughts on the track itself
Oh,
and
I
everything
love that
about it?
track. Yeah, right. I mean, I love the track. I love the history behind it. I love the surrounding area. I love the elevation change. I love the difference, the high speed, low speed difference in corners. The kink is unique. I guess I'll say that. I've crashed there before and it's not fun. But it just has such a good mix of racing, types of corners that I don't think you can find anywhere else in the country, especially for how old the track is. Honestly, they really do a good job with that track, and it's really, really fun to race on it in any type of car, because you can find places to race people pretty much anywhere. There's a lot of passing opportunity too.
And this is a heck of a calendar for those who might not be familiar with the TC America. I mean, you guys started off in Sonoma. I mean, you got Circuit of the Americas, Virginia, and of course Road America, but Watkins Glen, Sebring, and then the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Those are some heavy hitters for tracks, isn't it?
It's a fun calendar. It really is. I've raced at some of those tracks before and haven't raced at others. But they can definitely pick them when it comes to producing some good racing for all three, both TC America and their GT4 and GT class cars too.
Who would you like to thank from the team for giving you this opportunity?
Well, I definitely like to thank from the team, Toby Grahovic, who's kind of the team manager. He kind of makes sure that everything goes well on race weekend. Alex Perry is the lead engineer who helps work with me on setup. Nick Owen is my chief mechanic for my car specifically. So he does all the support, pumps fuel, make sure that we actually set the car up correctly and can make any adjustments that I need on pit lane. Jeff Westfall, you might recognize that name with your involvement with IMSA. He's been my driver's coach for a very long time and has helped me come very far as a driver in a very short amount of time. And, working with Jeff is always a pleasure as far as race weekend goes. And then obviously my family, my dad, grandparents, mom, brother, sister, basically everybody who's kind of helped me get to where I am today and been so supportive of my racing career and just keep pushing me to do more, and are very happy when I win. But even if I'm not, they like to say fast and safe. Everybody in my family does. Just, if you win, great, but just make sure you don't hurt yourself or anybody else along the way. Right.
And it looks like you guys have a couple races again, is it?
We do. Yeah, we'll have two. One on Saturday. I don't know the schedule exactly. We'll have one on Saturday and one on Sunday.
All right. Well, thank you for taking time out. Really appreciate it. And make sure you look out for the BMW M2 of Jacob. And what it looks like, yeah, classic BMW, red and blue. You can't miss it. What number are you again?
81.
81.
81.
I like that number. Well, thank you for spending time with us, and we'll look to catch up with you.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. Thank you, Jacob.
Absolutely.